Then making sure they're okay.
Quality control.
Mhm.
Support. Yep.
Is Deb online?
What's that?
Is Deb online? Deb. Not Deb, Rebecca.
No,
You covered?
just you and me.
Oh, it's just you and me.
You and me.
You can't push anything to the.
Well, we can,
Well, we can
because it's
put
just,
anything.
it's just a recommendation. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Good evening, Ann Cottrell,
Here.
Jason Goldstrand.
Present.
That's it. Our two other members cannot be with us this evening.
I'm here.
So,
I can get us started.
no, I'm going to start with the
Oh,
adoption of
please
the
do. I'm
agenda
sorry.
first. So sorry.
Jump.
Excited.
Motion to approve the agenda for May 7th, 2026, with members of the committee reserving the right to add to the agenda and take further action in the district's best interest.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Pretty easy for you, just copy and paste that as we go. All right. No. Do we want to make the change to the, yeah, I know. I didn't know if we wanted to make the change for that. Recommended to, motion to approve the meeting minutes from April 9th, 2026.
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, we're going to make one change to the agenda.
Just an order of operations so that health and phys ed can go, so we can attend a lacrosse game. Yes, absolutely. We're going to have you go first.
Okay.
Now, Dr. Wall.
Yeah, I'm so excited to welcome our health and PE department, Mr. Bueller and Ms. Lakoff for joining us. at our PD back in March, we had an opportunity to have an awesome conversation just about their needs as a department and some resources that they were hoping to explore. So they wanted to just come share with us today one of the resources that they're exploring.
Congrats.
For a while. Haven't seen that long. So it's kind of great to when I decided to present this is for first year. So
That's great. That's great.
both ends back. So, and that's what makes this resource so good is I'm not a computer guy by any means. I can check my email, that's about it. But this is a resource that's so user-friendly that, like I said, even I can do it. I think the biggest thing that I'm excited about is we haven't had really anything new as a resource as a department since 2007. And those were things that were bought through, I think we got a grant because of PSSAs at that point in time. So we were able to get some textbooks and some workbooks and things like that. So it's been a while. I know a lot of the teachers are paying for a lot of things on their own, through the different sites that they have. So getting this is, it's huge for us, if we can get it. The good things about it, it's aligned to our state standards and it's constantly updated as those state standards are updated. So, I know we just got new ones this year, so they're already on it.
Excellent.
And as a guide to hopefully writing a new curriculum in the future, will be a great resource for that. And like I said, our music program already has it, and it was recommended to us by one of our music teachers, and he said it's great. So then we started to explore it, and we, we kind of, just fell in love with it when we first saw it. So.
Excellent.
So we have a bunch of kind of places through the program. So there's over 300 activities and games that are also included on the website. It helps and also so it kind of it helps us both. There's also resources in Spanish, which also helps one part of our population. And it's fully customizable, so you can change it and tailor it on your end on your account to what you really need. So this is kind of like the dashboard. Sorry, I don't know if you can see this. But you can see there's help lessons. You click on that, it opens up. It sees the whole scope of students. You can click through it. There is a toolbox, a PE lesson. I was actually going through it today because I had tomorrow for my classroom, and I was using one of the resources to help me plan for tomorrow. And it gave me an extra idea, and it was super easy instead of just kind of stressing about what I want to do in my classroom. Here, here's so and paper, you open it up. 1 through 8 topics, go through second grade. It'll kind of give you what you're kind of like looking for, some social behaviors they were talking about that way, and I think it here. And then asking for help with talking about teaching the students that, and this will give me a resource to help me instead of kind of come up with it on my own. As a first year, it's been really honestly difficult this year, trying to figure out how to teach help and what to teach in help. I've never actually taught help before. So when I've been given the opportunity to look through the past couple of weeks, it's really opened my eyes and that wow, there's a lot out there that I can use that I didn't have access to beforehand, which would make it easier for new teachers, which also help us when we create our curriculum, or hopefully make a curriculum that is all standardized, going through every single building. I worked at ESC, James Hill, and Bushkill this school year, and we were all kind of on the same page just with communication. And if we were to make a curriculum and use this as a guide, we would all kind of be leveled, and it would be, it would all be leveled, and it would be equivalent throughout the whole district. So what's in a health lesson? There's some warm-ups, there's direct instruction, there's applications, there's assessments, there's videos, there's worksheets, etc. The PE overview looks the same as the health, just for each skill for PE that we would need, all the way through locomotor skills and manipulative skills. Yeah, cool downs, assessments, warm-ups. we'll be using it as a resource, right? To help us kind of generate a more cohesive program instead of everybody kind of, I don't want to say doing it on their own, but making it as a unified department. That's all my slides. Are there any questions?
Have they submitted to you? Like you have all the information in terms of cost and all
Yeah,
those
so
things?
we were pricing it out for grades 1 through 5. Primarily, they were looking primarily for a health resource for elementary. PE, they've been able to put together a lot of that because most of the time is in, the gym, so they weren't looking for necessarily a technology-based resource. Right now, they have a sample that they're working through to make sure it was something that was going to meet their needs. Right now, for the licenses across all of our buildings, they do it based on building. So for grades 1 through 5, it was $9,000 for the year for those 5 schools, for the 5 grade levels in the 6 schools.
So it's $9,000 a year.
Correct.
And is it for you as an educator, or is it for the students to use as activities? Like, is it for you to write your lessons, or is it student facing as well, where they log on and do lessons?
You could use it either way. It's both. So, they have a separate section for like virtual learning for at-home stuff, which would be great, because teaching physical education virtually is sometimes difficult. So, there's a whole separate resource for that. So there's, if, using it, you could definitely assign it to like a Google Classroom, and they could go on and complete, read something or, and then do an activity related to that. You could use that as a whole class resource. So there's definitely student-centered activities for them, but I think it's a resource that it's used for both.
So I'm familiar with it for music, right?
Right.
So, my hope is that it's mostly used for you to help design your lessons.
Yeah,
Right, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's where the priority for it would be for.
Excellent.
And so, the idea behind this, we wanted the teachers to bring this to the committee so that they could see the resource, give us their feelings on the resource. The C&I department, we've gone through our budget proposal for the 26-27 school year. And if the blessing is given by the committee and ultimately by the board that this is a direction that we're good to go with, then we would just adjust a few line items. The $9,000 wouldn't be in addition to anything that is currently in the C&I budget, but rather just a redistribution of the funds to make sure that health and PE would be able to get and order this resource. And then we would use this resource to begin an elementary PE curricular rewrite so that we could then put the curriculum in alignment, but really giving our teachers a much needed resource to help with their classes.
Okay, I'm know you forever too. I'm so excited that you came to us to ask for these resources. I mean, one of our goals has been curriculum rewriting and really trying to bring us into the modern day. And, we've, for the last couple of months, it's a year, really, we've been concentrating on secondary that haven't rewritten the same thing 20, 25 years. So when you said like the last resource, I think you said was like 2007, if I remember what I read. I was like, it's kind of a no-brainer from where I'm standing, and especially if the people who, the professionals who are recommending it, say it's what you need and what's best, you, by all means, and from the financial standpoint, obviously, it's a go-to. So from me, I would definitely support that.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you coming out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I don't understand how you've been teaching 25 years when you're only 25.
You only turned 25 once.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Also, I
you.
just wanted to say that Shanika is now online. If we can bring her in as a voting member for CNI, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
both.
you
Thank
so
you
much.
both.
Good evening.
Appreciate it. Hi, Shanika. Can you hear us? And let's see if we can hear you.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I
Yeah.
can. Thank you so much. I'm glad you could join us.
Yes, glad to
Appreciate
be here. Good evening, everybody.
Okay, so let's move on to where. Okay, so we'll go back to the first, which is our EPR newsletter.
Yes, thank you. So to start off May's EPR newsletter, we'd like to talk about 2 stops that we made on our tour of our buildings for instructional rounds. And the first was at North High School. And it was a really great beginning and a very unique beginning that Mr. Lenhart had prepared, because we all meet ahead of time and we discuss what the objectives of the day are and what the look-fors are. But Mr. Lenhart made sure that he brought a student in to talk to us about what it's like to go to North High School. And it was just such an uplifting part. You know, previously, Ms. Smoke, she had a student video that she showed us. Well, Mr. Lenhart had to try to outdo her. And our administrators are really trying to outdo each other each visit that we make. And so Dylan Perry was able to kick us off and really set the tone. And it was a really great, impactful meeting for our teachers of North High School. And then from there, we went to J.M. Hill Elementary. And we jumped into 4th grade. And being in, every elementary teacher has done things a little bit differently. Some focus specifically on a grade, some focus specifically on a subject area. So going into 4th grade and seeing the lessons that we were able to see, and having those discussion points and allowing the principals to go back and work with their faculty, but the principal getting the input from the other administrators from the room. It's just been a really, really impactful experience throughout this year. Today was, you know, a bittersweet day. We did our last instructional round, which we will report on next month, but that was at Resica and Dr. Kulik. And she really put a capstone on the experience, but I won't spoil next month's meeting. But just to point out that we had 2 outstanding instructional rounds at North and at JM Hill.
Next, we're going to mention that we continued with our walkthrough data. This is the outcome of some of our highlights that we wanted to share with you today. And they focus on the classroom environment, participation, and classroom environment of the students showing enthusiasm towards their activities were all of our top highlights of this past quarter. So we wanted to bring that information to you. And the second half of that page focuses on our dual enrollment student participation. The first graph that you see table has the NCC and ESU dual enrollment numbers of students that participated. And then the third column is the total number of course registrations, because some students may have taken more than one course at the university. So that's why that number may differ. The second table is the Lackawanna dual enrollment. That was new to us this year. This went over tremendously well with our students. I think now that the students and our teachers have a better understanding of what benefits that opportunity allows us to afford our students, the number is just going to continue to rise. So overall this year, we had 179 students that took part in a dual enrollment opportunity. So I think that's a great testament to our students, and they're willing to look forward to their future and what college opportunities or what college would even look like for them when they leave us.
Thank you for sharing that information. Be curious when all is said and done. I don't know, I always forget, do we get the feedback because it's in terms of like passing rate and all that, or not because it's,
Yes, I get all
Yep,
those
you
student
do.
grades.
yeah,
The Lackawanna College, there are grades that we give to them.
Right.
So there are teachers' grades.
Mhm.
The NCC, we get every student grade that participates in the program. ESU is not, our MOU is not structured in the same format. The student, if they want to achieve, get the dual credit with us for that AP weight, they have to provide their grade to us
Right.
at the end. So that's part of the contract that they signed at the beginning, that they will make that grade available to us.
That'd be great to see, so then we know, like, in terms of how many credits they actually then did receive and, and how successful they were. Because part of this was getting, for college readiness and so forth, so, but thank you for that information. That's great.
And next to that is our future educator cohort celebration. That is part of dual enrollment. This was such a special day, watching our juniors who are just about to embark in their next year's two coursework with Education for All and the special education course. They celebrated their experiences going into the classrooms, working with our elementary students, intermediate, really understanding what is the educational field. And in the picture below that is something special that happened this year. One of the students up at North was disappointed that he was an athlete and said, we recognize mentors and people that really impacted our journey at our sporting events. Why are we not recognizing teachers who made us want to go into the profession and continue our excitement to be an educator? And he kind of gave me a challenge to say, could we make this happen? And we did up at North High School. And each student walked across and got to bring their mentor up, and they recognized them as
That's
helping
beautiful.
pursue their journey. And you see Mr. Yeoman with
Yeah.
his student
Mm.
celebrating that moment. And then later that day, we had the students do a signing ceremony to say which students were attending a university or a college to be able to pursue either elementary or high school. And it was so awesome seeing them there with their college attire on and just hearing them say, I just can't wait to come back and teach here at East Stroudsburg. So-
That is like the best thing I've ever heard. I mean, because we do it for the athletes
Yeah.
all the time. And the signings, and it's always so cool to see that. So to do it on an academic level and for future teachers,
Get to see
Really
those
great.
students at the honors reception. So our seniors that meet all the rigor of our two-year program, they are celebrated and they receive cords for graduation. So you'll see the kids in their light blue and white cords at graduation.
that's great. Thank you so much. That's really wonderful statement.
On our next page, we just highlighted some of the moments that make us proud. We had so many wonderful things happening this past month. So some of the things that were highlighted were Bushkill brought in an anti-bullying, bully prevention week activity from one of our local arts institutions. They came in and did a play for them with those themes. Multiples of our schools celebrated our Special Olympians. So we have some pictures of them either celebrating them on their way out, celebrating them on their way in, or at the actual event. We had students at Lehman that were offering up PSSA support to our teachers and serving up beverages. That was really well received by our teachers there.
Yeah.
At JTL, we had a classroom partnership for Earth Day. High School North hosted their first talent show, so they were really excited about that, and that went over really, really well. And JM Hill had a partnership with ESU Steels to engage their students in real world science exploration. So this is just a little snapshot of some of the great things that were happening this past month.
The North Talent Show was absolutely amazing.
Incredible.
Absolutely amazing.
And talking about amazing activities, you can see on the last page of the newsletter is all of the accomplishments our kids achieved through our curricular related clubs. These are activities that the students participate with teachers throughout the school day. It's part of their curricular programming. So you'll see them all the way from elementary with the Math 24 competition, all the way up to media design. Tech Ed did the PATSA X competition, and JTL also, and Lehman attended the What's So Cool About Manufacturing competition. So it's just all around amazing achievements that our students and teachers are.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing.
And speaking of achievements, Dr. Pryle is absent this evening because she and Dr. Bukowski are representing the administration down at Bethel Maryville Tech, where a group of our kindergarten teachers that presented to us are winning an Excellence in Education Award through the IU. So
Was the structured
her,
play?
Yes.
That one,
This
yeah,
is
that was
structured
great.
play.
Yeah, it was
so they've won an Excellence in Education Award, and they will be down receiving that tonight. but that's why Dr. Pryle was unable to be here. But I just wanted to build off of, with all of these great things that are happening, there's something great that's also happening tonight.
Excellent. Thank you.
And tonight is also our elementary robotics competition that's happening at Middle Smithfield right now.
So good luck to them. I just want to say to anyone who's listening also online or comes back to look at it, that the newsletter is also published online. So everyone can get a chance to read and to look at the pictures and see what's going on in our district every month. So thank you, the whole department for putting that together. Appreciate it. All right, we're going to move on to curricular framework. Ms. Pullmounter.
I would like to bring up our first department, our English department. I have representatives from North and South. I have Jen Andrews, Philip George, Mary DeFazio here to present to you our English 10 curriculum.
Yay.
Good evening.
Hi.
I'm Jennifer Andrews. I too have only been here 33 years and I am only 25.
And as one of my teachers,
we all worked on 10th grade English together. I did applied.
I did CP. That's it.
oh, sorry. And I did honors.
It just made sense if we worked up. So I started shared up, and then also then circle back down. So I prepared some notes. We weren't really sure what to expect when we came to see you all. Feel free to interrupt, tell stop, too much, not enough. We really expected a very large crowd for exciting curriculum meeting.
We only wish.
You guys
I advertise every time, every
Right,
board meeting,
right.
come. That's where all the work happens.
Anyway, I thought I would just make some notes. And so we're truly banded now, 9th and 10th grade. Our standards, our curriculum, we're very much now together. So 9th and 10th, our curriculum, our standards, our preparation. And so we continue the theme of genres, but our focus is on world literature. And I myself have been through, I think, 4 curriculum process. Yes, 4, I think. And we had said that for a while, but now we really are. So with the world literature focus, I want you to consider, I had come up with a silly idea of, think of 10th grade of like, if you had a passport, maybe you started in America, but you went out around the world and you came back. So when you go on vacation, you start at home and you leave, but you come back. So our literature might have a lot of American, but we go around the world often and come back. So I'll tell you with the novel, the first unit has to be the novel, okay? Because we front load with a lot of our skills. After the novel, you can do what you want, or you can stick with how we numbered them. And our novel, if I check my notes here, for applied, our novel choice in applied can be American, Russian, or Japanese. Okay. New, if we're looking at what is new, is Before the Coffee Gets Cold, which is Japanese, and it is in 4 parts. You could teach all 4 parts or just one. You could stick with what we've done for many years, which is Fahrenheit 451. In applied, we have the graphic novel, which we absolutely love, and to enhance that with excerpts from the full text. I've had great success with the graphic novel. My students love it. And in our full text that we have from McDougall-Littell, there are all kinds of extras in that. There are pieces from Bradbury himself. There's poetry. There's all kinds of in that McDougall-Littell text, and we want to keep that piece forever. We have Anthem, which is an alternate dystopian novel. Could be a choice if you didn't want to do any of those other choices. I have just those options for the novel in applied. They'll share with you that they have others. For poetry, I wanted to let you know that for poetry, applied must do at least 6. And within those choices, I have some American, Palestinian, and English. When I move on to mythology, we have myths from around the world. I love my book that is old, Myths and Legends from Ancient Greece and Around the World, is no longer in published.
Mhm.
And Mrs. Catrillo remembers we had to buy them one at a
Yeah,
time
we
from
did.
Amazon. And we covet them, we protect them. They don't leave the building. So we did locate a new book, which we really are appreciative of, and we like it. But with that book, we have to do Greek and Roman. And with using our old book and using things like Common Lit, ReadWorks, and other areas, we can keep the around the world. So I just want to make sure that you guys understood that. For drama in applied, I have the famous Greek tragedy Oedipus Rex to teach our foundation, our tragic hero, and where tragedy really starts. And so we keep Oedipus Rex. And I just finished that with my applied, and that went as much as you'd expect it to go.
That's a tricky one.
Yeah,
for-
it went well. But I do also have excerpts from either Julius Caesar or Taming of the Shrew. And you might think, why do you have so many in there? And that's for North and South, for us to have choice, to have a menu. But we have to differentiate. We have to see, look at our class, what can they handle, how much time we have. And I wanted to tell you, just in case you had looked at the curriculum and wondered how we place things, vocabulary is covered in each unit. We built in, applied has, for each unit, we're doing at least 10, builds up with college prep and honors. Writing is geared a little more towards Keystone in the 10th grade year because we're the testing year. So for example, in applied, I am perfecting that paragraph. I am making sure that that paragraph, the topic sentence, the support statements, the closing sentence. So at the applied level, we perfect the paragraph. We hope that we can do a pretty strong multi-paragraph, but we are not by any means in 10 applied doing constant multi-paragraph essays. We are not. Mr. George can talk a little different about that in college prep, and then of course, Mary can differently in the honors. Also, if you're wondering where our Keystone skills are showing up, all of our skills are good skills, and all of our skills are Keystone skills. So that is peppered all over the place, interspersed throughout, reinforced regularly with classroom activities, IXL, ReadWorks, Common Lit. And of course, we use all of the passages given to us from the state that are released passages.
Excellent. The only thing I do want to, I did read over all of it, and the only thing I wanted to say is, and this is just a side note, probably maybe Amy, more so for you, in drama, the statement of choice is not there. Like
Okay.
it is in all the other ones.
So it looks
And
like we're doing
I
way too
thought,
much.
okay, well, there's no way they're reading all three
No.
plays. So, you know, so,
Very ambitious. No.
so that's the only thing that statement has to go in there for the
And
drama.
as the committee, who's
Changing it
surprised
right
that
now.
Mrs. Catrillo has read the English curriculum?
Did anybody have any concerns for applied other than choice? Because no way would we ever do all that.
No, and you answered my vocabulary question, so thank you.
Okay.
No,
Another
thank you for your
question.
work on it.
Yeah, really.
It's really
amazing.
great.
Right. Good evening, everyone. I'm Philip George. So I don't have a listed out thing because I realized you guys already have it with you guys. So I just wanted to first off acknowledge everyone who worked on this. Thank you, Amy, for your supervision guidance. Also, Marilyn Pryl also helped us out quite a bit. Thank you, Andy, for a couple of those meetings where you helped us. All the 10th grade teachers and the 9th grade teachers who banded with us, it was a collaborative effort all around. So we, and so this is the work after that. And I just wanted to, something that I jotted down, I just want to adjust. So the curriculum exposes students to a diverse range of world literature spanning novels, poetry, mythology, and drama. We have shifted our focus toward intentionality. For example, students will now explore the pairing of classic and contemporary works by examining timeless themes through both a traditional lens and a modern perspective. And we're teaching students how to bridge the gap between history and the world today, they inhabit today, and prepare them to succeed for tomorrow.
I want to comment on that because your objectives were so clearly in tune with what you're saying. And, I very much appreciate that. The only thing I would add, and definitely in CP and honors, I'm not as sure how I would, I would probably try to do it and apply it as well. Since, as you said, it's a comparative kind of year, obviously, and what we're trying to do and putting those skills together. Um, Under poetry, I was thinking something of the effect for like an essential question. How do poets use literary devices differently from fiction writers? And why? Because as you said, you're going to start with the novel anyway. And then, because every now and then we see on the test, we definitely see comparative, but sometimes we'll see a fiction piece or a nonfiction piece with a poem to do, a comparative that way. So, since, in reading all of your objectives and questions and your assessments in particular, I noticed that there was, which I'm thrilled about, the comparative. I mean, it's such high level thinking, to begin with, and bringing it either from honors all the way down to applied. You just, it's what you choose, you know what I mean, in terms of the level, as Jen was saying before, what they, can comprehend and understand, but you can still kind of bring in that comparative piece. So that was it. So that was the only thing I was thinking of in terms of the poetry because of the Keystone question too.
Thank
But it was great. It was great.
No.
Yes.
Yeah,
Can you give me that?
sure.
We're gonna,
That's
Amy,
my
we're gonna
talent.
give that note to Amy and we'll take care of it. That way you
Okay.
don't have to script it right out.
Yeah, this will be on us.
I have it.
This will be on us. You're good.
No, no. So I'm married to Fazio. I'm up at North. And I want to tell a full circle story, if that's okay. So I had Jen Andrews in, I think, roughly around 1997, roughly. And then, so, yes, yes. And so then, off to college, and then I got hired at North when North was becoming, and so then now I'm finishing up my 22nd year. So it's cool to like work with one of your mentors because that's who Jen is for me. So I had the honors track, and working with Jen, she's very particular, so it worked all very well. So like she said, she started from the bottom, and then we worked up, and we didn't just want to be like, okay, you do 4, you do 6, I do 8 of anything, because we want to go deep, not wide, old quote. So one thing that I really loved, and I felt like this for a long time, is that 10th grade was all by itself for so long. And, trying to get anybody to care as much as 9th grade, or excuse me, 10th grade. So it was really nice that 9th grade is here. So Amanda, like, here we go. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out with this rewrite, Keystone is embedded with everything. So it's not, I mean, right now it might be a little bit of crunch time, like 3 days before the Keystones, like we're reviewing some things. But as far as like the constant, it's not just like a craft lesson all by itself. It's it's ingrained in everything. So yeah. And again, Phil took some of my no, I'm just kidding. You took a line that the modern versus the old, because, well, not old, classic. And so that was a big deal. So we kept some that was what we love teaching, and then some that's going to like develop as we go through the year with our course plans and stuff.
Excellent. See if I copied everything that I wanted to talk about. Vocabulary, I love that it's embedded, obviously in everything you're reading. I know we haven't really talked about futuristically, in terms of like going to final exams and those kinds of things. But one of the things I think that's really important is that you're using your vocabulary in what you're reading, not in isolation, what we used to do with Shostak,
Yeah.
And so when they go to Keystones or SATs, they understand like vocabulary in context as well, and how to use it. So I just wanted to say for the group that we, realize that the vocabulary words themselves are not exactly the same, even in the same level, because it's depending upon that teacher what he or she is choosing, like in terms of the short stories in ninth grade or poetry, let's say in 10th grade or myths, whatever, you know what I'm saying? So that the vocabulary is developed that way. I know we haven't seen the course plans yet for 10th grade, and that's fine. But looking at the ninth grade course plans, and I'll use the short story as the example, they had listed every short story with the vocab underneath it, which I think is great for the course plan because any teacher, new teacher, you know, you get change of what you're teaching. It's all there for you. So I would, you know, suggest as you're doing your course plans to kind of do the same thing so that this way everyone, at least from the particular source or text, is looking at the same vocabulary. But it's not necessarily the same teacher to teacher and obviously not level to level necessarily. So,
The only- May I ask a question?
sure.
The question I had for you was, the only place I ran into trouble for that was the mythology, because the book changed and maybe the book going away. So that was the only time that you might have noticed how come she didn't do that there.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I mean, and I think as you mentioned yourself, branching out to use Common Lit, you know, and those kind of resources to try to find the myths that are throughout the world, you know, not just Greek and Roman. Um, you know, once you've solidified that, because that's something that we have, that we use as a, you know, as a district, Common Lit, then that can go into the course plan then, and then you could do the vocabulary that way as well. So that's a thought.
Just for anybody wondering why I didn't get specific, why I just said Common Lit was because I was reluctant, because what if it's not there in that database a year from now, new teachers like, well, thanks a lot.
Yeah, yeah.
So I didn't get specific.
Yeah, okay,
There
that
is
makes sense.
fantastic stuff there.
Yeah,
Never
there
know
is,
if they're
yeah.
gonna Pull something,
Mm-hmm.
but just in case they pull it and then it's in the
Yeah.
curriculum and not.
The they pulling it is now us. I love that. When I was in your shoes, I always say they, and now I'm the they. It's kind of scary, but so I wouldn't pull it, but you know, I'm just joking. But it was great. I really appreciate all the work that you've done. And as I think you've all mentioned, that it's sequentially skills, the development, particularly in the writing. I can see like the progression from 9th to 10th grade. And I can see even in your assessments, which I was happy, like they're more specific, you know, those of us who know the curriculum of old to the curriculum that you have written. I mean, the course plans will blow us out for sure, but, you know, but the curriculum itself even has become more specific, that if a new teacher were to come in and, you know, knowing you kind of replaced me, you know, I think, you know, someone who's newer and that in that regard and seeing the curriculum to what you have written, you know, what a difference in terms of the development of it. And I know it's been a lot of work and it's not just this year of writing, but it's been years of discussion and thinking and, you know, reading on the side, et cetera. So I very much appreciate everything that you've done. It's been a lot of work.
And I really do want to give a shout out to both our English 9 and English 10 groups, because we have yet to hit our last writing days, which are taking place during the Keystone Exam Administration days. These groups went above and beyond to prepare their curriculum framework for your review early. So they still have designated days to work that our group here with 10th grade can look at their course plans, but they went above and beyond to prepare these to be here for tonight. And these were not rushed in any way, shape, or form. These are high quality pieces of curricula, and the detail and the work that went into these is tremendous, and you all need to be commended in the work that you have done. This is not to put down what is coming to you next month from 11th and 12th grade, because they are working just as hard. And we're excited for what we get to bring to you next month with 11th and 12th grade. And we get to close this year of writing out. Our curricula is second to none in this English department. And I'm just thoroughly impressed with the work that you've done. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I want to say maybe it was worth the 20-25 year wait.
For getting us books, because I can tell you, we have not gotten books in forever.
Mhm,
We need them. Thank you.
mhm. Thanks.
Thank you.
Good to,
Thank you
s-
for your.
good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
With regard to materials, now that obviously we have a better cycle of what we're removing, what is our process of adding other material to our curriculum if material were to come up that we found to be more appropriate based on what we have already, selected? Say like, for example, like the Truman Show, right? And then, another show or another movie comes out, and then we realize, okay, I think this would be a really good movie too. So what is, instead of having to present it, because obviously it has to get approved, what's our process?
So we would
What would
do,
will be?
we would do a review and a presentation to EPR. We would make an amendment, like the amendment that you're about to see momentarily in science from Ms. Pullmounter is based on slight revisions to the curriculum for science. So we put off general science last year because we just didn't feel comfortable bringing it to you all.
Right.
And the science department put a lot of time and effort into not only creating a general science curriculum that we're proud of, but they saw that we didn't hit all of the Steele standards in that general science curriculum. So they went back and they reassessed all of the curricula that they wrote last year and evaluated where do these Steele standards live, in which courses. Do we have to add something, or do they actually live there and reflect that? So the science curriculum that you're seeing, we approved last year. We're looking to reapprove this year with the edits that we made. So if there are new resources that are coming out, we will have a process where teachers will bring it to CNI. We will thoroughly evaluate it. If it is something that needs to be brought in because it is a primary source, then we will present to EPR. And then if you are in favor of it, can recommend to the board, and we'll just do a quick curricular revision to reflect those resources.
Because I know, I just don't want, I mean, they do a fantastic job, and it's across the board for all of them. I just don't ever want them to feel as if it's locked.
No.
And then, okay, this is what we're gonna do for the next X number of years until we move. Eventually, it's social studies. I
Yeah,
know it's
and
coming up.
so there's some supplementals. So we also leave room for supplemental resources that are handled through the course plans
Okay.
that do not require board revision. So like when we're looking at a core piece of a resource, that needs to come through
Right.
this.
So as long as you have.
But if it's a supplemental, like,
Yep.
oh, the news clip from last night
Well,
fits
separate.
perfectly
Right.
into my lesson,
Right.
that doesn't have to be approved. That's in with the supplementals, but it's not a core resource.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, I just want them to understand that, with all the hard work that they did.
Yeah.
That this
Yeah.
isn't locked, that if they find something that they want to adjust.
and we have a process, even if they want to add a novel.
I was just gonna say, I'm assuming, if
Well,
it's been
just been so
updated in
long.
5 years, 6 years, but
So-
there always was
But-
a form that we filled out if we wanted to put in a new book or a new, video or whatever.
Yeah, they'll bring
source
that
material.
over to us, and then we'll do the full deep dive. And then if it's something that we
It's good.
support, then we'll bring it to you and ask for your support as well.
And I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Pryl. She's been working with a lot of our English teachers
Yeah, she's
on
amazing.
their SPMs and also with the concept of doing book clubs. So we have a lot of teachers within our intermediate and high school working with the students right now, reading different books and exposing them. So from watching and hearing students participate in that process, and the teachers are giving it great reviews of kids learning genres that they never looked at before. I definitely think that if we continue that practice, then we are going to be able to look at other books and see what could definitely meet the needs of our students. So that has been a tremendous, being in the district and seeing the excitement. And one of the things that we're going to present to you next EPR is our portrait of a graduate in terms of our English department. And one of their big things they said to us the first time we met with them was, we want books in hands. We want kids to love reading. We want them to know genres. We want them to know and get excited about not having an answer right away on what happens in the book. So we really, with this rewrite, had teachers explore the new books. And you could hear in all of the presentations so far with 9th and 10th, and you'll get the same level of excitement with 11th and 12th. They are truly excited to bring these novels and
Yeah, for
dramas
sure.
and poetry pieces to their kids. So it's been a really exciting process, and I can't wait to show you the rest next CPR meeting.
Thank you.
I know it sounds silly, but it's nice to give I don't want to say a stage, but somewhere where they can give their love for what they're doing. Because listen, I love teaching 100%, but as much as you try to give it to the kids, they're just like, but when you have colleagues that are just as deep into it as you are, and obviously a department that cares just as much about it, it really shows that what they're doing is having a tremendous effect. And so we really appreciate, I mean, just seeing this and knowing that it's no longer static.
I know. It's amazing.
It's
It
fantastic.
really is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a dream come true after, 20, 25 years of no movement, whatsoever, no curriculum, just, really teachers just doing it totally on their own, to be supported now in such a way. And as you can see, and what's being created is just phenomenal and wonderful for our students, to be able to have all of these things. So thank you. Okay, so with that in mind, we're moving on to personal finance, right? And,
So the one was, I just.
oh,
wanna-
no, I'm sorry,
uh,
science.
Science was, Mr. Snyder stole a lot of my speech,
So-
but, but he did a nice job describing why it's on there. And what you'll see is the physics, the AP biology, biology to environmental science, and the introduction engineering. When they had to rewrite their general science because it was missing standards, they took the approach at the November 24th and November 25th professional development days very serious. Like Lori Soskell, DJ Scott, Missy Hughes worked at the IU and really presented to the teachers, what is the steals? Why are we doing this? And where do we want to end up? And they took all of the standards that they needed to incorporate, and they found a home for them in where does it fit naturally. So all of the teachers sat around in a huge circle in the room, and they talked through the standards one at a time. And the teachers were really trying to find out where they could embed it naturally. And then the general science does have a bulk of them, but you will see them throughout all of the other areas. So that is definitely an accolade I want to throw their way, because they didn't just make a general science, okay, let's check the box, put these in so we could get it through. They really went back and without any questions went in and changed their curriculum and updated their course plans.
I was just going to say, I mean, I went through them, and even, I mean, knowing that, with the edits and the things we had talked about at the meeting, and I am like so super impressed with the course plans. And I know I said this from the beginning, like elementary teachers really were great examples for the secondary teachers, because elementary teachers always had had the curriculum and had course plans, and secondary never had that. And to kind of see what they had, and for secondary to kind of look at that as, as a model, and then to see what science did from even when it was first presented. And that was really even before we were kind of really, really, into it, hence why, the edits, this was really, that was the first one I think that we were kind of working on, as a new team. And the additions and things and clarifications that they made, the updates and specifics in their assessment options, their materials and activities, really, I mean, were amazing. I mean, I think it was physics is the one I really was paying a lot of attention to because it was the first one. And their course plans were like 36 pages. You know what I mean? And it wasn't just nonsense. You know what I mean? Like it was so specific, so clear. I turned to Michael and I said to him, "I'm not a science teacher, obviously by any means, but like I feel like I could take that and I could do something with it." You know what I mean? And that was really what our vision was, when we talked about, curriculum and putting it to a course plan, but not something yet was so rigid that you would have to say, on day 3, we're on page 2 and doing, 5 through 8, that kind of rigidity is not there, which is important because you want to be able to, like the teachers to be able to have, their space, their skill, their talent, their creativity, is what makes teaching, beautiful art.
And like
Um,
Mr. Scott had
Very
a
nice.
student teacher who was able to really use them and give them feedback.
Yes.
But what I truly love about the course plans, it gave us a common language.
Yes,
And it built
definitely.
in a high school, and intermediate, a learning community. So
Mhm.
I know DJ talks with Brandon up at North and they're talking physics. Well,
Yeah.
what happened in the course plan? Did you like this? What did you
Yeah.
use? And our intermediate science teachers, we just had them down again and they're like, let's really write a really cool engineering lesson to get the kids engaged. They really made these documents live and
Mhm.
they're constantly talking about how they're going to revise them next year. They're like if the 2-hour PD, we could look at them every quarter. So it's when you said you want these to be something that it's just not another document.
Yeah.
Here it is in the file. They're really teacher unit plans
Mhm.
that are really guiding instruction.
And
to
it
make-
makes it so, so much easier for teachers, new or seasoned, to be able to take those course plans and then create them into unit plans, daily lesson plans, et cetera. But I think what you said, like the common language and just kind of the community. I mean, and I was a department chair, so I always tried to obviously make a community, but this is different in the sense that it really solidifies what a community can be. And I think, and I really do think, like, we learn a lot from our elementary teachers
Mhm.
on that regard because they they make community, you know what I mean? And from an academic perspective, and as you said, the common language, I think the course plans have really helped that. Now, with that in mind, though, I do have one, not criticism, but just a point of clarification perhaps. In the science course plans, we have the first 7 pages that are the introductory material. And a part of that is the scope and sequence and, a whole bunch of other things. That is not in English. So, and I know that we had talked last month when we were doing 9th grade about English because we weren't sure, like, scheduling what was
Mhm.
going on. But that would just be scope and sequence. But even so, if we're moving that forward to recommend, I want to make sure that even though technically the board doesn't approve course plans, just curriculum, I just want to make sure that that information that's in science is the same as, that will be the same in English and every other, department moving
Absolutely.
through. Only because one, I think anyone who's not even a teacher reads those first 7 pages and has a full understanding of what's going to happen in this course and how it's going to happen. You know what I mean? I really I think it's like this great overview, kind of. Um, and so that's one. Secondarily, our goal in doing all of this is so that everything you know, is the same, through each department.
Mhm.
And then as other people from other districts, wherever, as we publish it online, look, they see it. It's, you know what I mean? It's a standard that we've created. Because I've gone online to many other districts and nobody really has it like we are creating it now, which I can understand why, like the English, group got accepted to go to the national conference to present. I mean, this is like, it sounds simple, but it's kind of, groundbreaking at the same time. because it hasn't been, really hasn't been done before, at least in our areas, of schools and stuff. So I just wanted to say that because when I was going through it, I was, wanted to kind of do that comparison. It's hard when we go month to month, you know what I mean? And we're only seeing one, at a time. But I was so happy kind of that science was at the same day because it really, like, visually, I remembered and it kind of stood out. So but other than that, it was great. Let's see if you have
No, I was
any other
gonna say, you know,
comments. Yeah.
our intent moving forward, obviously, we will do our best to hire the best educators we can moving forward, but without a foundation for them to work off of or know what they are going to do. And we had this conversation a year ago, before they didn't, and as we, excuse me, as you have all began to develop these programs, it's really putting in place, somebody coming in and, because it's student teaching and
Yeah.
classroom
I mean, we
learning
heard it
is
from we heard it from the
way
young,
different.
PA
And
teacher,
this is such a great,
Mhm.
there's nothing better than a seasoned teacher to work with,
Mhm.
but having this with
Yeah.
you as well as, so we appreciate all.
And
the
I
work.
would respectfully push back, it is a we, because you have equipped us with the tools and the administrators and put the right people in the right seats to make sure that this is happening. And I would argue happening pretty swiftly,
It's very quick.
Yeah.
but in a
Very
really
quick.
good manner
Yes.
that has a direct impact on students
Yeah.
and supports our faculty, so.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
And the only other thing that was missing, sorry,
Mhm.
on the course plan is that little box that was on the bottom of the page, and that kind of went to Jason's point before of being able to, like, bring in new materials or whatever.
Oh.
It says
in the
nothing
course
in this
plan.
plan may supplant any item in the board approved curriculum, blah, 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 blah. I didn't want to write the whole thing
Right.
down. But that little,
Have that little.
blurb,
blurb in there.
Yeah. I'll have
was,
to make sure
wasn't
they
on,
go in.
wasn't on the English ones
Absolutely.
either. Okay.
And
that's-
what's those first few pages, we have that part of their Keystone Days. We'll be working with the entire English department for 2 days. And we are going to compile what that looks like. Ninth and 10th wrote new descriptions for the program of studies. So when we do present them next month, we'll have the standard pages and
Excellent.
we'll have those available for you that we could make sure that they're in the 9th and 10th grade. One of the big pushes was we wanted to make sure that you had time to view 9th and 10th.
Yeah.
Because we were
definitely. It takes
buying
time.
the resources with the 25-26 budget.
Mhm.
So we wanted to make sure that you were fully able to see and approve that the curriculum is okay for us to go ahead and make those purchases of resources. So that was the main reason that we wanted to make sure that they were on the past 2
And I
meetings.
appreciate that, not only from obviously the monetary perspective, but from the perspective of giving us time. Like, I take my seat here, like, seriously. So I want to be able to give the time to read through everything, as carefully as I can, even subject areas, obviously, that I'm not an expert on in any means, like science. But not only to give kudos and respect to the professionals who spent so much time creating them, that we should, in return, be respectful of that and give the time to, read through everything. But then to make sure as we're bringing it to the full board, that they're, understanding that, we take our job seriously here too, as they do on all the other committees, that we're just, so I do appreciate that extra time. And I even say, like, even before the meeting, if it's done like 2 weeks, just send us an email saying, it's ready, so I can start reading it. So, because it takes, a while, obviously, to go through it all. So, but I
Absolutely.
really appreciate so much everyone's hard work. It's just really wonderful to see it all happening in our district, for sure. All right, so we're ready to move on to curriculum framework. Is that next? No, what am I looking at? Oh, I'm looking at the
Bill
old
schedule.
one, not the new one.
Right?
It's you, Mr. Snyder. Before Mr. Snyder begins the high school bell schedule proposal, I want, as chair of EPR, Mr. Snyder came to me, I don't know, a couple months ago, talking about, the idea of the high school bell schedule. The two things I want to say. First, one of the things when I came on and was elected to this position was something we were asked about, things that we want to see in the future, um, things that we dream about, to make for a better school district. And obviously, as we talked about curriculum, because it was, so far behind. And the second was something that, at least myself and within my department and with other teachers, we've talked about that block scheduling is done, Um, it's not really, after doing it for 20 years and having taught under quote unquote regular scheduling for 18 years, prior to that, block scheduling is not really what is, necessarily best for students all around. Having been an AP teacher, it's difficult. You finish teaching in January and they're taking tests in May. I would meet every lunch and after school to assist kids because they're, haven't looked at anything in, 5 months. And as a teacher of writing, kids write in the spring of one year. You don't see them to the spring of the following year. They haven't written in a year. I mean, there's so many things with that. And for those of you who were here 20 years ago, when we moved to block scheduling, the reason why,
1994.
Thirty.
I was a sophomore in high school.
a little over 20 years, the reason why we moved to that, as did all the other schools in the area, was because of finances, because that was the influx of, we had so many people coming in that high school teachers only taught 5 classes. And when you moved to block scheduling, you taught 6 classes. So it allowed for savings because the school district didn't have to hire as many teachers. And we only, as departments, we were only ordering 65% of supplies and materials because you aren't obviously seeing 100% of students. So that's the first thing. So when Mr. Snyder came to me about this, I said, listen, I said, I'm only one person. I said, and I'm no longer teaching, obviously. I said, so before you present it to EPR, who would then present it to the board, I said, I respectfully request that you go to the schools first and talk to the teachers because they're the ones who would be doing it, and talking to the students because they're the ones who would be receiving it. I said, so after you do all of that, then come to us on EPR so we can hear not only, the presentation itself, but also any feedback that you would have received at that time, by tonight, from faculty and students. So if we decide to move forward, we may not, we'll see. Although I can't imagine staying in block scheduling considering no one else in this whole area is even on block scheduling anymore, but our administrators prior to recent times wouldn't do it, So, so I want to say thank you, one, for at least taking what we asked you to do to heart, and to present it and to bring it to our staff and our students. So I just wanted to say that before you present it so that people understand the history of where it came from.
And I just think a point of clarification, I'm sorry, Mr. Snyder, I know you're so eager to dig in.
Mhm.
But when we met and you had asked us to delay it, Mr. Snyder already had in his schedule to go to the high
Oh, yes,
schools and to
yes.
go to the students.
But he
So
wanted to come, he thought he
he
should come
wanted,
here first.
he
as
wanted to
board.
come to the board first, that way, because I have a rule, no surprises. So he wanted to inform the board, but already in the calendar was
Yes.
his attendance at the high school
Yes, I
faculty
knew that.
meetings
Thank
and
you for
meetings
that
with the student
clarification.
leadership.
Thank you.
And Mr. Snyder has been taking it on the chin for the last month. And Mrs. Petrillo, I appreciate it. I want to be really clear. When I came on, I met with each board member and I said exactly what Mrs. Cotrillo said. I said, what is your vision? What do you want from us as a leadership team? And the block was at the top.
Mhm.
So one was a feasibility study, let us understand our facilities and programs that we can do, curriculum, and we need to investigate the block. So Mr. Snyder didn't come up with this
Right.
idea.
That's why I
It
wanted to be
was
clarified on that.
something that we had said, the board wants us to look at this, and as educators, we were eager to dig in and better understand the academic impact. Mr. Snyder has done an amazing job of really investigating it and understanding the impact of the block versus a period-based schedule, and has done an amazing reflection over the last month of spending time with our students, spending time with our teachers, which is really what he wanted to do, to understand their perspective, and this keeps morphing. So it keeps changing and
Yeah,
adjusting, which is exactly what we want. And sometimes I feel that the community feels we're not being transparent, or they're publicly saying we're not transparent, when in fact, it's literally just the opposite, that we're letting you know in the infancy of our planning, we're thinking about this. What's your gut reaction? What's your initial reaction? What are we not looking at? That way we can plan with intentionality and strategy and best meet the needs of our faculty, our students, and our families. It's the same thing with the feasibility study.
Mhm.
We went in very early. This is what we're thinking. What's the pulse? Where are we at? And then we can gauge which way to go. This is exactly what we're not doing it in August.
Mhm.
We're not, it was very interesting. One parent emailed me that she heard we were moving to block, and she's read all the research that block isn't good and we shouldn't move to block. And I was like, we should not move to block. I
But
agree
we're
with
already
that,
in it.
because we're already in the block. But there's just.
But
a-
your research is correct.
Correct, but there's a lot of misinformation, and we're just trying, my hope is that everybody in the district watches tonight and listens to Mr. Snyder. I'll stop speaking now, go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll
Um,
try to not say another word.
Speak as much as you'd like. You're educated on the topic, and that's really what this is. This is a conversation, and this is a proposal. And as you can see, even with the opening slide, things continue to evolve. So my original proposal was to start with the 2027-28 school year. I would like to amend that proposal to start with either the 27-28 or the 28-29 school year. However, we can all decide that it is best to move forward. So I would ask everyone to just please not jump to conclusions. We want to talk about a number of options, including a very specific bell schedule that I'd like to explain. And the reason that I really want to explain this bell schedule is because it's different than what most people would be accustomed to. So we know the block, and most people know what a traditional 42-minute schedule are. This schedule that I'm going to present tonight is different than both. We do have 3 tenets in our leadership team. One is to assume positive intent. The second is to suspend judgment. And the third is to challenge the status quo. So as it's been said, in 1994-95, East Stroudsburg Area School District, along with Pocono Mountain and Pleasant Valley, moved from a traditional 42, 43-minute period schedule into the 4x4 block schedule. We are the only remaining district on block scheduling in Monroe County, and we are also not performing where we would like to in terms of student achievement on multiple metrics. One being the Keystone exam, and in the Keystone exam as a district, we are the poorest performing district in Monroe County. And I don't think the block is the only thing to blame, but I think that both when you look at multiple assessment metrics, that our schedule could be adjusted to help our students. And the other thing I realized after talking to the students about this is the only thing that they know, but I think it may be the only thing that their parents know as well. So having graduated high school in 1995 and having a college graduate this weekend, it could be very reasonable to say that not only our current students, but their parents went through East Stroudsburg with a block schedule and don't know any other way of being educated. So I really want to talk about what this schedule could be and what we can do with it. So the goals,
Can I just interrupt? So when we talk about student assessments and lowest in the county, we don't care about assessment scores. I don't care if we're 35%, 90%, none of that matters. What I care about is that we're competitive with the state average so that the product that we're producing and the education we're giving offers our students a competitive advantage over their peers. So when we are not at a competitive rate, our students in other districts are performing better on the state basic foundational standards. Doesn't mean they're smarter or better, but we just have to be in that range, and we're not. So we literally philosophically do not like state standardized tests at all. And I think some of this is getting, it is not being clear to some of our people that we're just trying to raise test scores. I don't care. I want to give our students the best possible education. The metric the state and the federal government has given us is these PSSAs and Keystone tests. That's the metric we use right now that rates scores. We just want to make sure that we're on the same level and we're being competitive. I don't care what it is. I just want to make sure we are offering a solid quality education to our students. Okay.
I mean to interrupt, since you're talking about those standards, and I'm sure you have it, and I'm not asking for it right now. I would love to see a comparative analysis of our junior high students who take the Keystone algebra exam, the students who take algebra in the fall, who have to then take the Keystone exam, and the students who are spring students who take algebra who would have to take the Keystone exams. I was just curious to see.
so it would be very easy for me to break down. And one thing about the
Yeah,
Keystone,
I'm not asking for it right now.
yeah,
but
one thing I will say about the Keystone exams is because they're offered twice a year, so they do allow for block scheduled
block.
students to take the course at the right time. AP is a different story. That is given one
That's what I'm
time
talking
per
about.
year nationally. Keystone exams are given both in the winter
Okay.
and in the spring. So students who take algebra in the fall would take the Keystone exam in the winter.
In the winter.
The one exception to that is this year with biology, because of the new test, students who had biology in the fall are going to be taking their Keystone in the spring because the new test was not available in the winter.
And then, so then the junior high students, because I know I have students who are
Yeah, the junior high students that
scared to
have,
death
yeah.
of it coming up, especially eighth graders.
yeah, the eighth graders are taking it very shortly.
They'll be taking it shortly. Okay.
So if you look at the goals
Thank you.
of, you're welcome. If you look at the goals of the schedule, I wanted to develop a single high school bell schedule that maximizes student learning time and supports student success. To design a schedule that minimizes instructional gaps that block scheduling can allow for, such as having a class in the fall of one school year and the subsequent class in the spring of the following. So a student could have Algebra 1 in the fall of their freshman year and geometry in the spring of their sophomore year, which would put a calendar year in between them having math class. And this does happen as a regular occurrence at both high schools. Wanted to create a schedule that better prepares students for post-secondary success, including college, career, and workforce expectations. To align the school schedule to better support student performance on AP exams and other rigorous assessments. To have a synchronous schedule that allows for MCTI students more instructional time at East Stroudsburg Area School District. To build a schedule that provides all students with greater access to courses, pathways, and personalized learning opportunities. To structure instructional time, to allow for students to engage in deeper learning, critical thinking, and mastery of content rather than surface level coverage. So the purpose was to design and improve upon a singular high school schedule that maximizes each student's potential by ensuring equitable access to rigorous, continuous, and meaningful learning experiences that prepare them for success in college, career, and life. This was not driven by financial needs, and it was not intended to decrease full-time educators. I know we in education like our acronyms. That's what FTE means, a full-time educator. So I want to start off by showing you High School North's bell schedule. That is on the left. High School South's bell schedule is on the right. So as you look at these schedules, it is broken down by minutes. Oh, sorry.
He forgot to click.
I forgot to click. As you look at the schedules, they're broken down by total minutes. You see that periods and blocks are built together. Looking at High School North on the left, periods 2 and 3 equate into block 1. At High School North, periods 1 and 2 equate into block 1.
High School South.
Or High School South. Periods 3 and 4 would be block 2. At High School North, they would be periods 4 and 5. The lunches is where things get a little crazy at both schools and how the periods are broken down. So here's an overview of that model. We have a modified block schedule where a 1-credit class is either an 88-minute block for 88 school days or a 42-minute period for 176 school days. That depends on the course, the level. So we have some 42-minute periods as a 1-credit class, and others are the 88-minute blocks. Now, when you get into half-credit and quarter-credit classes, I could be here all day and not be able to adequately explain what we're doing, but there are some semester classes for half credit, some quarter, some are 42 minutes, some are 88. Teachers teach up to 3 blocks or 6 periods per day. Students receive 129 hours per credit of instruction. Students can take a total of 32 credits, but only 26 credits are needed to graduate. So we all good with everything up to this point?
Which, if we do the math, means there's 6 credits,
It's just the-
which is 6 blocks of a child's career that could be study halls or senior release, right?
Well-
Or our students could be maximizing and taking 32 credits.
Yeah, so we have students that take, actually, that have 34 credits because they earn 2 credits in 8th grade.
Fantastic.
And they graduate with 34 total credits. So there are some students who follow that and are looking for the most rigorous schedule possible. We do have some students who take study halls each year, which falls outside of what the traditional block mentality is. The idea behind the block schedule is to have no
Oh,
study
study
halls
halls.
whatsoever.
Yes.
But yet they are there. So, yes. So now, the schedule proposal for either 2027-28 or 28-29 that I'm making is a 6-period day with classes that last between 59 and 65 minutes. That teachers would teach 5 out of the 6 periods per day. there would be 5 30-minute lunch periods, and in there would be 2 60 to 65-minute classes. And on the next slide, I'll visualize it for you. But with this model, students would receive 173 hours per credit of instruction, which is an increase of about 44 hours of instruction per credit. So with this, only 24 credits would be possible for a student to take in their high school career. So as opposed to 32 credits, they could only take, they could only take 24 credits. And we're asking for 22 credits to be required to graduate. But again, that was, as you'll see later on, a point of concern. So again, this is a proposal, not the rules. So this is what the schedule would look like. So you would see period 1 is a 63-minute class, but would have homeroom embedded in it. Periods 2, 3, and 9 would be 59-minute classes. And then you have your lunch section of periods 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. So a student would be assigned one of those periods as their 30-minute lunch. They would also have 2 courses in that time period, which would be between classes between 60 and 65 minutes, depending on which lunch they would be assigned. So if a student were assigned 4th period lunch, they would then have a class periods 5 and 6, which would last 65 minutes, and a class period 7 and 8, which would last 65 minutes.
Which is, I mean, just in terms of the lunch periods, the academic period during the lunch grouping,
Yes.
is longer than the other periods, but that's the way it is now also. You know what I mean? Like most
Yes.
of the classes,
Well,
you know what I mean? In block
it's a
schedule.
little bit
At least in-
longer
Yeah.
during,
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, in terms of the other, the times of the other ones, like 59, 3 of them are 59 homeroom. I mean, you're still teaching 59 minutes. The homeroom is to do like your
Mhm.
attendance and all that stuff. So I'm saying over the lunches, it's
it's
longer.
a little bit longer.
But it makes sense because you have the interchange that you need for lunches,
Yeah.
which is what I'm saying is what we have now. Like
Yep.
anybody who has a class during the lunch period, it's, that time is longer than any of the other
Yes.
blocks anyway. So it's the same
Same
it's
mentality. Yes.
altogether. Okay.
And to be fair and give credit where credit is due, Dr. Sweeney from Pocono Mountain shared her presentation with me, and it really opened my eyes up because I know Pocono Mountain made the switch from block to a period schedule around 2013. And I just asked her for some insight and things that I needed to know in going into this venture. So she shared her information with me and shared this 5 lunch schedule, which is something that I'd never thought of, and the reason that I could never make a 60-minute period schedule work in my mind or on paper. And she really, it was amazing, and it's kind of what got us to where we are today. And I modeled this proposal around what is currently being done at the Pocono Mountain School District.
And anybody who's ever done lunch duty,
Mhm.
we would appreciate 5 lunches over
Yes.
4 lunches.
Yeah.
to
Because there are less students in each
spread the
lunch,
love a little
Yeah,
bit.
that's great.
for sure. So what is the cost of going to a schedule like this? So I wanted to draw your attention to this. So if you look at this chart, broken down by department, and then in the first column, you'll see our current 32 credit model, where students are required to take 4 credits of math, 4 credits of English, 3 credits of science, 4 credits of social studies. They're also required 2 credits inside arts and humanities, 2 full credits of physical education, health, and driver's ed, 1 credit of financial literacy, and they're able to take 12 credits in electives of their choice. And then you can see the hours of instruction that go along with each of those credits. In the third column, you'll see under the proposal what I would be proposing should we go with a 60-minute, 6-period schedule. And that would be, again, 4 credits in English, which is required per PA state code, but then only requiring 3 credits of math, keeping 3 credits of science, 3 credits of social studies, not making the arts and humanities credits mandatory for graduation, reducing health, physical education, and driver's ed down to 1.5 credits, dropping financial literacy from a full credit down to a half credit, and it would decrease the total number of electives that students could take down to 9. If you look, though, at the total hours of instruction, you'll see that English jumps up considerably over the career. And if a student were to only take the bare minimum graduation requirements in the other core classes, you would see an overall increase in the number of hours of instruction. Does that mean that students can't take 4 credits in math, 4 credits in science, 4 credits in social studies? No, they can, but it would be a choice to go into those core areas based on what they are looking to do with their post-secondary goals.
And I'm assuming, of course, that math, science, social studies, phys ed, the proposed model of credits is what the state says we must have.
Actually, the state says we shall offer. So there are some districts in the state that only require 2 sections or 2 credits in social studies per se.
Okay.
There are other districts that require 4 like we do. The model that I'm proposing is actually the most popular model through Monroe, Lehigh, Northampton, and Bucks counties, where I did my focus when comparing us to other districts. So this model is popular, currently in place at Pocono Mountain, Parkland, Southern Lehigh, Central Bucks. But I have an extensive list of what.
I mean, I knew you wouldn't propose anything, obviously, that the state didn't say, but
Yeah.
I mean,
So
I
this
want
is
to ask
not-
those.
Yeah,
points of
no, I
clarification,
appreciate the
so it's
question.
out for
This is
everybody.
not the minimum. This is typically what districts are proposing, and what districts require. Now, other districts are getting inventive. So if you look at, say, Nazareth School District, they require 7 credits between science and social studies.
Do you want me to scroll a specific place?
No, so this exact model, Allentown School District has this, only they require 3.5 credits in social studies. Bangor follows this only with 3.5 credits in math. Bethlehem School District, Northampton, Parkland, Penn Ridge, Pleasant Valley, Pocono Mountain, Salisbury, and Southern Lehigh. If you look at some other districts that require 4 English, 4 social studies, 3 math, 3 science, Downingtown, East Penn, which is Emmaus High School, Lower Marion, North Penn, Northwestern Lehigh, Quakertown, and Whitehall.
All to say, he's done his research in where we're at, right?
Yeah, so I don't want to go through the
No,
list
no, no.
extensively, but districts will require what they feel they should.
Right.
What this proposed model allows for is it doesn't lock a student up to only take required courses, even though we're reducing the total number of courses that students take. But it does require students to make choice, and it requires us to inform students of what is in their best interest given their post-secondary goals. So The proposed graduation requirement would be reducing from 4 credits total from 26 to 22. So currently, students must pass 26 of 32 courses, which is 81.25% of the courses that they take, 20 of which are required. It is proposed that future students by the class of 2031 would successfully complete 22 of 24 courses, which is 92%, 15 of which are required.
Interesting.
So how would we get there?
When you present this again, or if it's on the next slide, forgive me, I didn't go to the next slide yet. It's there, never mind. The percentages you were saying, I wanted to remember that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we can go back.
No, yeah, okay.
So it's currently at 81.25%, and the proposal would put it at 92%. So how would we get there? So if we would put this in place for 2027-28, this would be the phase-in that I would propose. If it's pushed off to 29, then obviously those graduation years would shift. But seniors who've passed everything in the high school and have 0 credits from intermediate school would enter with 24 credits, would have the ability to take 6 credits, but we would say that they would only need 26 in order to graduate. And then we would slowly decrease the number of credits needed to graduate until we had a student that went through their high school career fully with a 6-period
Makes sense.
schedule.
And since this is only a proposal,
Mm-hmm.
we could chat about the
Oh, 100%.
credits at the end.
We can chat about
Everything, I know, but that's just the one I'm
Yeah.
focused on.
Okay. So, some pros and cons of our current hybrid block schedule. Students get exposure to 8 classes per year. They have many choices for their electives, and they get to take a lot of courses. Students and teachers are comfortable with the mode of education. Graduation requirements are defined and set. We've pretty much seen it all and know how to help students navigate it. It's a strong schedule for hands-on learning for the students who do have the block classes. There's great opportunities for our teachers. Students can easily double up in specific classes that they find interest in or they really want to accelerate in. And we do have a clearly defined path for early graduation. For students who want to graduate a semester early, that's something very easy for us in a block semester-based schedule. So what are some of the cons? Well, AP testing gaps. Because students can only take 4 classes a semester, if they want more than 4 AP classes in a year, they have to take an AP class in the fall semester and take that exam in the spring. And you shared your experience of doing just that. Our PM MCTI students at North High School, they fall below 990 instructional hours per year,
Every year,
every year.
which means we lose subsidy on their education every year. And there's no way to fix it.
Well, there's a way to fix it.
In the current model, we've done everything we can. There's no way to fix it currently.
Thank
today.
you. We have students taking study halls in block scheduling. We also have combination schedules where some students have period and some students have block. I can tell you as a former high school scheduler, this is the hardest schedule to make. And in fact, our schedules are completely inefficient, not because our principals are incapable of scheduling well, but rather because a class has to be offered both morning and afternoon, both first semester and second semester, just to meet the needs of our students so that they can get all the classes that they currently need to graduate. So the teacher utilization is less efficient under our current model.
Plus VOTEC also, because you have AM and PM, so you'd have to.
For sure. And that's not driven by grade, but rather driven by program and grade. So it's always changing. So there's limited flexibility in the schedules for MCTI, for learning support, for transfer students, or for students with one applied level class where they just have one year-long period class. And it does allow for learning gaps. So students could go a calendar year between Spanish 1 and Spanish 2. They could go a calendar year between English 11 and English 12. They could go a calendar year between geometry and pre-calculus. So the proposed schedule, what are some pros and cons? Well, it's very efficient in master scheduling, full year instruction in all core courses, an increase in seat time in core classes, still allowing for hands-on learning while keeping a continuum of learning. The times do marry well with MCTI. It is the best schedule for AP classes, allows for flexibility, and it allows for the option to remove senior release or study hall if that's the direction that we're proposing to go. The students would not like that.
The students would put that on the cons.
The students
Yeah.
would put that on the con side.
Our educators will put that on the.
On the
pros.
pros. So I just want to be clear, the students hate that aspect of this option. And every student has told me that multiple times. The cons, it's an increased number of classes at one time for teachers and students. There are 8 fewer classes in high school. Students do not get to explore as much as they currently do. We will have a learning curve. The students, the teachers, administration, we will all have a learning curve in implementing this schedule. Students will have to make choices that will limit their overall exposure. I can't say this enough, and it is a concern of the students, but it's something that we have to look at. And we will have to rework our program of studies, our course plans, and some of our curricular resources to align to the new schedule. So what does this look like from a student perspective? I drew up some
Example.
examples of what a student's high school career would look like under a 6-period schedule. So you can see in grade 9, they would take, this is an honors student. I also have other examples. So this would be an honors or AP level student that would take English 9, Algebra 2, General Science, their health PE requirement, and then have 2 electives or a double up in math should they so choose. 10th grade, they'd shift to English 10, Geometry, Biology, and then take either World Cultures or AP Human Geography, which I would propose that we would create for that level. Again, either 2 electives or a double up. 11th grade would be English 11 honors or AP, pre-calc honors, chem honors, civics and gov or AP government, financial literacy requirement, and an elective. And grade 12, English 12, calc AP if desired, or they don't have to take math. They can, they don't have to. Science of choice or an elective or AP, US history or AP US, other electives or other APs. So there's, again, that flexibility in the senior year. If we move on to a CP student, you can see the progression allowing for electives, with having 2 each year. And that's putting the financial literacy requirement in grade 11. Students would have the ability to plan this out and take that in other years if they would choose. But I'm just trying to give vague examples of this is kind of what a cookie cutter type requirement would be where they're going to hit all their requirements and still get 2 electives per year. Again, I want to remind everyone that under the current schedule, students get 4 electives per year. This would be a reduction. I'm going to be transparent about every aspect of this schedule. So here's an applied students proposed schedule of what they could take.
It does have the senior year where they could take 4 electives.
Yes. So they can take a math or a desired elective. They can take a science or a desired elective. And then here's an MCTI students. So you'll see here, with MCTI, we already adjust their graduation requirements. And actually, in speaking with the administration at MCTI, they are providing us with their academic standards that they teach in all of their coursework. And the C&I department is starting to break that down and looking at each individual shop that a student may go to in MCTI, breaking down the standards and seeing which academic credits we can give to students through the work that they're doing at MCTI. So not only would they be getting elective credits in their shop, but they would also be meeting academic standards, which they have to meet in every shop, so that we can give students credit for the work that they're doing at MCTI and that they don't have to double up on a class here at East Stroudsburg, and they could take more classes that they would like.
It's kind of like we take the NOCTI for the BSSAs or
Yep.
Keystones.
Yes. So here, when I spoke about required class options, and in the previous slides, I put them all in 9th and 11th grade because they fit in real nice there. But students could take them any way they would like. They may want to take a lot of exploratory classes in 9th and 10th grade, so they push everything off to 11th and 12th. They may just want to take 1 semester per year and take a different semester elective course.
What do you mean by that?
So if, say they choose option 2, and you see in 9th grade, they take health for a semester. Well, they could take a semester course in art opposite that,
Oh, I see. Okay.
or a business course, or
So you're
a
saying like a
tech
half, you're
course,
saying like a half credit.
half credit
Okay.
course. Yep. So in the proposed schedule, all half credit courses would be run for a semester and would be a full period long. And that's how we would work to build additional variety in for students, is through those introductory elective courses in every department being half credit electives to get students exposure. And then the upper level electives would be the full credit deep dives. So where are we? So I met with student groups, and in
A
the
few times
a few times
at each school.
at each school. And I actually have another meeting at North that is currently scheduled for May 20th. So students continue to want to talk, and I continue to want to hear them. Mostly current 9th and 10th grade students.
Makes sense.
Although I wanted to hear from our juniors and seniors because they've experienced East Stroudsburg Area School District. And they're proud of their education, and I wanted them to see what I'm proposing, and I wanted to hear their honest feedback as someone who went through our program. What I can say is that over 80% of our students are opposed to any type of change. They do not want to lose block scheduling. It's all they know. They oppose the loss of exposure. They oppose of having to choose between core academics and an elective that they enjoy. They're concerned about the impact on post-secondary opportunities. So let me dive into that. They're afraid that by reducing the number of credits, that they would reduce their opportunities to get into competitive colleges. And what I'm trying to reiterate and explain to them is that when a college looks at the school, they receive a profile from every school that is sending a transcript. And on that, the school explains their bell schedule, their grading schedule, and their highest courses levels. So students who are trying to get into the most rigorous programs, what they need to show the college is that they maximize their opportunities based on what their school offered. Did you take the most rigorous coursework? And did you take a full schedule? So it doesn't matter how many courses you took, because if that was the case, I would be proposing 30-minute classes and an 18 or a 12-period day. But rather, I want, but I do want to point out that's a concern that I continue to speak with teachers and with students about, because in their mind, reducing the total number of credits in high school could hurt their chances when it's based on what we offer and what they take. Students were also concerned about the increased workload, moving to 6 classes per day instead of 4. They did not like the loss of study halls or senior release. They did not like the limiting the number of electives that they could take, and they didn't like the lunch times, saying that they were too early in the day. So just to remind everyone of
One ends at like 1:20, one starts.
under the proposed schedule, the first lunch would begin at 10:31. Under their current schedules, lunches begin at 10:46, so that would be a slightly earlier. At South High School, lunches don't begin until 10:57. So it's 10:46 at North, 10:57 at South. Under the proposed schedule, lunches would begin at 10:31. The last lunch would end at 1:21. And knowing high school students, lunchtime is something that you're very much concerned with. And they did not like that. You know, on their survey responses, I don't know, they're getting to know me, and some students wrote, "Will you even read this?" Yes, I read it. But reading their responses, that they're concerned with loss. So we also met with teacher groups. So I spoke at faculty meetings at both North and South. And then I had follow-up meetings with teachers at both North and South, and am open to continued meetings. So I had meetings with individual teachers. I was also at a joint department meeting at South because I was asked to go there with teachers who had concerns. So there are some teachers in our district who are in favor of a year-long 60-minute schedule. Some teachers would prefer a year-long 43-minute schedule. There's an overall concern about loss of planning time with more students in front of them. Concerned about students losing exposure to elective and art classes, and honestly about administration cutting programs that wouldn't have high enrollment by our students. They're concerned that students need to choose their path early, and they're also concerned about the overall credit requirements with the 92% required pass rate that students, and without the ability to double up in courses that they failed, that our graduation rates would decline with that overall credit requirement. So what are our next steps? Well, I'm going to continue to meet with our stakeholders, be it students, parents, teachers, administrators, whomever, to discuss what they like and what they don't like about the schedule, and things that we need to work on. There are questions that are out there that I don't have answers to that would require the work of departments sitting down and working through how these schedules can work. I was hoping that next month we would do a Q&A session with the committee. Potentially work out a decision of either keeping the status quo or a commitment to break the block. Professional development throughout the 26-27 school year, with committee work with teachers to further discuss the impacts, as well as working on curriculum framework and course plan revisions. So there are some thoughts that I'd like you to ponder. Should we continue with a block schedule and do so for all students? Should we move forward to create a 6-period year-long schedule? Should we move forward to create a traditional 9-period schedule? So in order to maximize today's potential, should we place our emphasis on exposure or mastery? And I'm willing to follow either direction. Any questions?
So I mean, that's really a value statement that we have to say. And we're the educators and we have to make a decision. So we're not asking for a commitment for, we love this 6-period schedule, we're gonna do it, let's go. We want, do we philosophically agree we need to move away from the block? Go find us a solution, bring us multiple solutions, let us work through it. Or do we say, you know what, we're gonna stick with the block, but if we stick with the block, we have to do block scheduling. We don't do block scheduling.
We don't.
We do some version
do
of a
hybrid.
hybrid schedule, which really handcuffs us and our students in some things that they can take. And kudos to Mr. Snyder. He has spent an entire month only getting feedback. And some of the feedback has been positive and some has been really negative. Some have been really targeted at him as a professional. Some have been targeted about the program. We go back to really the 3 tenets of our leadership team. Like we're asking everyone to assume positive intent. We love children. We love education. We didn't get in this to harm anybody. We got in this to make things better. We have the best intent. Let's talk. But also our 3rd tenet is challenge the status quo. We've been doing this for a while. We know what the outcome is. The definition of insanity, we're all aware of that. Is it time to make a change? And what is that change?
Philosophically, just in terms of your question at the end under thoughts to ponder, I mean, mastery from an educator's perspective is what we want because we want our students to be able to compete, you know, whether they're going right into a field of work, whether they are going to a 2-year program, whether they're going to a 4-year college, you know, those, I mean, mastery of skills, mastery and know how to write, you know, mastery, you know, I mean, just, I mean, that's, I mean, what we're about as educators. And I understand, I mean,
And Mrs.
having taught
Petrillo,
for so many
we have-
years and
We
in the.
do have mastery currently.
We
I'm
do,
not trying
exactly.
to say
That's what
we
I'm
don't.
trying to say. I know, that's what I'm like on all over the place at the moment. Because having worked for 38 years as an educator, over 30 in the school district, knowing our teachers and how committed they are to our students and how our students work so hard for everything that they accomplish. In the midst of all of this, thinking about change, we don't want to, and I'm glad that you said it, you know, before I was going to say it, we don't want to minimize, you know, everything that has been done, you know, myself included. I mean, I had phenomenal students who did well, you know, on their AP tests also. But I also understand and did it myself, taking the extra steps to help our students, to give them the time that they couldn't have in the schedule because they took AP English in the fall. So I made literally little cards for them with approval from the principals, et cetera, so that kids could come to me during lunch and then after school, and I didn't get extra pay for that. Not that I would want it, that's not the point. But the point is I was making time concessions for a schedule that didn't provide for that.
And Mrs.
And-
Petrillo, we have students who are getting 5s on AP.
Yes, I
exams.
had them. I mean,
But-
that's I'm not,
But we also have students who are getting 4s on exams that I'm hypothesizing could get a 5 on that.
yes,
exam.
agreed. And kids who were getting 2s and 3s who could get the
3s
next
and
4 up.
4s.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
That's the
Yep.
point. Like we can always do better is my point. But I also understand students in terms of the exposure, that they could, I mean, my daughter went here. So, I mean, and, she didn't take a study hall. I mean, she took every
Mhm.
course she possibly could.
Yep.
And was a music student as well. So, and I would like to see a band course sample schedule also, in there.
I've drawn those up as
Um,
well.
And, but that being said, I mean, we do have to look for positive change. I mean, that's what it's about in terms of trying to give to our kids, future students, what's best for them. And like, where are we with our skill levels with students and having them for a longer period of time, for an hour to really, really get to know them, or at least have them all year long, if we go to a 42, 43-minute period, I think is really important. And, you know, and I understand teachers too, like their frustration and their nervousness in terms of electives that will disappear. I mean, and you've made it very clear, and it's obvious, that there is quote unquote less choice. Like if you're going from so many periods a day to so many periods a day, obviously, there's less electives there to be offered. So I understand that as well. But I also think philosophically, like choices have to be made in life. And, part of parents working with their child as well to say, like, these are the things that you're good at. These are the things that you want to look at. Making a choice of what to take, I don't know. It's a definitely, a thought provoking, uh, you know, exploration. And I want to say thank you for all that work. And, I do feel ultimately that we have to leave block scheduling. Um, but how we will do it and, if everyone else, I mean, obviously it's a decision for the entire board and hearing from, as you said, the teachers and the students, I think is really important. And I appreciate that you're coming with it, in a positive way. And I say that to the community and anyone who is listening. If you know us as, people personally, and who we were. I mean, Jason is still teaching, in Pocono Mountain. We're here for students. I wouldn't have retired and come back to the community in this capacity, if I didn't love students and have their best interests at heart. So I think it's really important that we keep that perspective moving forward. And to the parents and students who are listening, ponder all of these things and really look at it and look at the schedules, and ask good questions so that we can get the answers and kind of decide and move forward. I don't know, Jason, Shanika, if you have anything to say. And Barb too.
It's not public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
So-
Not yet.
You have anything, and then I'll go.
Yeah, Shanika, do you have anything? to
I just
say?
wanted to say to Mr. Snyder, thank you for all the hard work. And as a parent, with a son who's, doing the block scheduling now, he did have some challenges with algebra. And I've continued his tutoring so that he could have that consistency through the year. And so I can see where doing some changes could really help with that. And I think that may be the case for many children. So we do have a lot of things to think about. So I just encourage the public to think about it, in a very broad sense, and think about how it could affect all the children. So thank you again, for the hard work.
Thank you.
So, I mean, as, you know, Ann had mentioned, we have different viewpoints in which we can look at this through different lenses. And, you know, from the lenses of an educator, I've done both. I've done block teaching and I've done block and I've done, well, what we do now. And the question of the mastery is never and should never be in doubt, whether they're going to get it at a 90-minute semester or they get it through the whole year. The teacher is always going to give the best that they can for that student during that time period. One of the things that I noticed with this, well, before I go to that, you had mentioned like Southern Lehigh and Parkland and so on, but I just wanted to take it a step further, and I want people to understand this. There's a concern for college readiness, and will these students, because of the reduction of, I mean, we can say we have the same number of credits as Pocono Mountain, and no offense, I mean, people look at school rankings when they want to move somewhere, and college readiness and so on. And the top schools, of course, we know, would be like Radnor, and so on. And I just wanted to verify that, and, you know, before I made this comment about, and they have pretty much the same structure as this portion. The number of these classes, the number of these classes, there are slight variations. Their schedule is different, but that's not the concern. The concern is, will we be preparing our students with the reduction of credits for a college readiness percentage? And the answer to that is a resounding yes, based upon, if you look at the top schools in the state of Pennsylvania with the requirements that they have. Now then lies in the next problem for you to then begin to determine, how do we create schedules for each of these kids? So we might say you have 9 available credits. Well, for a student who really wants to get into a specific university, those 9 electives are not a reality, because we know that they have to take certain courses in order for a university to say, okay, we're even going to look at your application. So we need to say that these are the programs, like you did with MCTI is fantastic. You show this is the pattern you'll take, or this is the pattern you'll take. And we need to let students know that those classes are available to them, and they will still be prepared for that, which I think a lot of people will be concerned about. There will be a reduction, obviously, in what is it, student release program?
Yes, senior release.
Senior release, right. We do have a lot of students who do utilize that program for what it's meant to be. And then there's a lot of students who, well.
So
as
one of
we-
the other things that, you know, when we talk about senior release, something that came up in the CNI department was creating a diversified occupations program,
that's-
which is not senior release, which is students earning credit for the work that they do,
for which
and
it should.
and for
Right.
them to be,
Yes.
there to be a level of oversight.
That was
They
the
check in.
beginning of senior release
So you're already.
hundreds of years
you're
ago.
Yeah,
already
we're,
in process.
I'm already,
Was just asking.
yep.
Yeah, and I think, and you're laying it out, you're showing that these are the steps that you need to take. I just have one question with regard to the financial literacy, and I know it's new, and students have to pass that in order.
They must take one
must-
financial, a personal
Right.
finance, it must be named personal finance. It must have a minimum weight of half of a credit,
Okay,
and students must take it and pass it per PA code.
okay, because I noticed for all the other grade levels, we have it for 11th grade, which makes sense, because I think that's where we had scheduled it.
Well, that's where we
Regardless,
currently have
right.
personal
That's where-
finance
regardless
too.
Right, it's where we had it set up before, so it's not that. But I just want to make sure that if, heaven forbid, there's a situation where a student doesn't pass that we offer it in the fall, and that we have another, because if in 12th grade, it
They
makes it a
could
little
skip
bit.
it again.
little
Yeah,
bit
if they're
tighter.
waiting till 12th, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit tighter.
Yep.
But no, and like I said, I just want people to understand that, you know, this does match everything around us, but it also matches other school districts in the state. You know, we have a very high level. The arts and humanities, obviously, those would be where those electives would come into for those
Right.
students
Mhm.
who want to go for college. And as long as we can establish that and set up that, we still offer wonderful programs here.
Yes, we do.
We really do. And those programs will still be available to all the students. And I know you'll figure it out. And there's one last thing I have. With this schedule, with this proposed schedule, would we still have the opportunity to afford the students the academic labs?
So that's all based off of the principal and how the principal utilizes.
I just want to make sure scheduling with, because if we schedule each teacher to say, okay, you have six classes you have to teach during the day. And if every teacher is teaching 6 classes a day, it no longer leaves. So.
Again,
I
that,
guess
yeah,
you
it
would
comes
have to
down to,
note
it
that.
comes
You're talking
down
about the
to,
42-minute, if we did 6.
no, if
Like
we
during
did the,
lunch, like kids
Ah.
will go to the.
so teachers would teach 5 and have a planning. It all comes down to teacher utilization and the priority statements made by the principals. So
And we
could
have
you
them at
give,
both, and I know
in,
they
could you give a
prioritize.
teacher only 4 periods of instruction and assign them a period over lunch for academic
Well, that's
lab?
not for me to decide or.
Yeah, but
Oh,
that,
I see what you're saying by labs, I'm sorry.
it can fit in
Yeah,
the
like
schedule.
nights.
It just has to be scheduled that way
Because I know
by the
with
principal.
Longer schedule, there's more bits and pieces, but I also know we have more lunches,
Mhm.
which would afford that opportunity to more students. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess the only other question I would have, and I don't expect an answer for this evening either, is the association and contractual language in terms of planning time and all those kinds of things that come into play. Um, I mean, everyone knows who I am, so, for 12 years I was association president, and we had really tried under past administrators to get language in for our elementary teachers, actually, was the reason why we fought to get the actual prep time written in, because elementary was being eaten away over and over and over again. So we really worked on that. And from the secondary level, the reason why it was in there was knowing that sooner or later we were going to be leaving block scheduling, and we wanted to, at least we were hoping, that teachers would then only teach 5 classes, because before we went to the block in 1994, we had the 42-minute period days, but teachers only taught 5 and were not to have more than 3 preps. If we go to the 42-minute, scheduling in the future now, teachers could have 6, well, definitely would have 6 classes, not 5, and could have, 5 preps, or whatever the case may be. So even though if we went to the hour, they would only have 5 classes, and granted, it's more than teaching 3, but not all teachers, remember, are only teaching 3. We have some teachers who are currently teaching 5 because we have a hybrid block. And so the hybrid block allows, is having teachers who, let's say, are teaching applied classes and then have a CP class, you know what I mean? So they're actually teaching they're actually teaching 5 classes now as well. So going to the 42 minutes, increases teachers to 6 classes as opposed to an hour of teachers teaching 5. But I also know there's, minutes involved, in that as well. So, and I'm sure you're, talking to the people you should be talking to, but I just kind of wanted to, bring that out there as well. So,
So-
everything's transparent, as they say.
Yeah, I mean, so before we rolled it out to the board, we meet with our union leadership for a few hours every month. And we had this discussion. And while we believe the language in the contract allows for this, there is some discussion of, what's the word? It's not concurrent. Uninterrupted.
Uninterrupted.
And as one of the elementary teachers in this district, what elementary prep time and what high school and intermediate school prep time is wildly different. And our high school teachers are used to an entire block uninterrupted. What we believe is that when you have your prep time, it is uninterrupted. The contract says it's 425 uninterrupted.
420.
420, you would know it better, uninterrupted minutes. Well, that doesn't mean concurrent.
Correct.
So what?
Am I concerned, Maggie, is not, I'm
do
sorry, I know, I want to, only cause I'm not worried about the continuous, I'm worried about the actual minutes.
But if I could,
You can.
I was getting to it,
Sorry,
I
know.
promise. So we identified that it's a change. So Mr. Kernan, the union president, and I have been back and forth with an MOU. I mean, we went to them and said, listen, we're adding 2-hour delays for students once a quarter for professional development and learning so that we can take some of the data meetings, some of the meetings and PLC work that we're doing during your prep time and move it to that time. The eventual goal for that would be once a month. High school level, we don't touch it. That is their time, their prep time, and we give back. We also said that we would be comfortable that instead of the 3 contractual meetings a month, that there would be 2. So then that would be another give back. We understand. Now, while the position of the administration is we're not violating the contract, we would get you those minutes. We do recognize it's a change. So we said to them, as our good faith of that we believe in this and we believe that it is what's best for students, we want to make it the best learning environment. We value prep time. We recognize the importance of it. We also recognize that our teachers have only ever taught in this model and it's going to be a transition. So we're working on exactly what that looks like so that every month we're offering more time for our teachers to really sit down and do it. It will not be 88 minutes consecutive of prep. It will not be. But we're looking at how can we offer that back. We also said to them very honestly that we recognize that the pace is going to be different, that your cadence of a block, and if we get to a 42-minute period, or if you get to a 60-minute period, is much different. So we said to them, we would be comfortable in just putting some language in an MOU that no educator would receive a failing rating in domain 3 of instruction during the first 2 years of implementation. Like, let's get everybody comfortable. Let's decrease stress that I don't have to worry about what's going to happen to me professionally because we are changing the mode of instruction and the timing. So we are working through them. We are negotiating this out, but we are not saying do this. Now, I want to be clear. Other leaders and my colleagues across the state would say, managerial right, we're going to a 9-period, a 6-period day next year. Suck it up, Buttercup. That is never the approach that we take. We are having conversations of what can make this more manageable so that we still have planning, we still have intentionality with what we're doing, and we're supporting you and kind of bringing down the temperature of stress. Our teachers are the most dedicated professionals any of us have ever worked with, ever. And their stress level is super high. Hopefully we've decreased it. Super high because they want to do what's right by our students. We're trying to take that down by saying, so do we. And how can we make it just more palatable so that you realize we're not really worsening your working conditions, but trying to make it more manageable for you. That answer it?
It did. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Jason, you have any other points? Shanika, do you have anything else online to say?
No.
Okay, thank you. All right, then we're going to move on to, sorry, public comes later.
3 more things.
Yeah.
Sorry, Barb. You're retired.
Uh, Okay, curriculum framework, second reading, Amy?
Yeah.
For English 9, personal finance and general science.
Yep, so we are bringing forward to you our second reading for our English 9, personal finance, and our general science curricula.
I perused them all. I
Yep.
kind of made all the comments already, so about that.
We're good.
Jason, okay, Shanika, all right.
See, look, Barb, we got one done.
All right, next, the portrait of a mathematician.
So one of our goals in the CNI department was to develop a curriculum process. So when we started with our ELA, we got to do that from pretty much whatever we felt the department needed. And that process began with creating a portrait of what skills we want our students to have when they graduate. The work has been done to support our district's vision and our mission statement, maximizing today's potential for tomorrow's success. And after completing the work with ELA, we as a curriculum and instruction department decided that it was extremely valuable and we wanted to move on to math. And our math department, as you know, wrote curriculum. It was approved by the board. So we wanted to really use the process we did with ELA in which we had them dive into their standards. What is it that they need to teach their students by the time they leave the course? And by doing that, we brought the chairs in first. We met with them. We asked them to think about what it was like in their classroom. What was the main things that they wanted to leave their students to leave with? After they went through that process with us, we then we redid that process with the entire department, really to just get everybody's views that everyone had a say in what they wanted our graduate to look like when they left East Stroudsburg. That work that they've done in intermediate and high school and with our instructional coaches at the elementary level created that mission statement that as our portrait of a mathematician, this is what we would like them to be when they leave us. And they have a whole list of different skills that they hope that our students will have to be competitive in the workforce or in college or whatever their post-secondary endeavors may be. So after we did that, in conversation with Dr. Vitale, we wanted to say, how can we make sure that they have a quick way to be able to understand those standards and actually use them, know what they mean, be able to go into the classroom, have the students understand what they're doing, the teachers, the parents, really have that common language, that math talk of this is what we are doing. This is what you are going to master by the time you are leaving the course. So we worked with each department individually and they went through the standards and they created what you see on the screen. They highlighted what are their main strands and then all of the key characteristics and standards which the kids are going to gain throughout their course. This upcoming year, Kristen's going to talk about what we plan to do with these. And why we brought them to you today was because we did not want something that we are putting into the hands of teachers without you at least having a look and seeing what that work was that we have been doing throughout the year with our math department. So Kristen?
Yeah, I think some of the work that we've been able to see with our intermediate and our secondary teachers has been really exciting in terms of just kind of framing the conversations they're having around what education looks like in all of our classrooms and level setting, really what we want to see all of our learners leaving our classes with. One of the things we're really excited about, and we didn't want to dive too deep in with K-5 yet, but we're excited for next year with OGAP coming through. So really getting to explore that formative assessment and being able to take a look at where students are in that continuum of math understanding and then being able to help that inform our portraits as we're diving into K-5 is something we're really excited about for next year. Some of the work we're really excited about doing too is really taking a look at the way we're assessing just even at the end of units, taking our program-based assessments and really making them user-friendly for the students in our seats, but through that work that we're going to be doing with OGAP next year. So I know we're talking about math right now, but the work we're doing at secondary, we're seeing spill into our elementaries, and we're seeing that we're getting to see our teachers work K-12. So I'm really excited about how this is going to look as we dive into elementary and how that can look as we look at that continuum from K-12 for our students. So that's where we're heading.
Dr.
I mean,
Vitale,
it's really so amazing to see that we're really beginning to take that look, of scope and sequence really K through 12, you know what I mean? And I mean, just looking at this, from sixth grade through all the courses that are offered, obviously, in the high school. Again, I mean, and what a tool for students, like to know, like, this is why I'm here. This is what I'm going to come away with. And for parents too, you know, to really say, this is what, my students should be learning, so that when they come home from school, we say, what did you learn today? We can say very specifically, oh, what about blah, 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 and be able to read right off the chart. So, I mean, it's just, again, to all the teachers who put this together, thank you so much. I mean, the amount of work that teachers are doing, in addition to teaching and lesson planning and grading papers, is astounding. So thank you so much.
And they asked, the department chairs asked to, the intermediate department chairs met with us and said, I think we should get copies of these today, and we could go over these with our departments in our meetings this year. At the beginning of next year, we want to put these in the hands of every kid in their classroom. And
Right.
then we said, when we had the conversation with them, is this is how we could develop their PD throughout the year, and how we could kind of gauge to make sure that the standards and skills are being hit. And we have tools like Linkit that could help them look at how they're performing in the IXL or through different benchmarks that we do to gauge the students' learning, in addition to how they're assessing them within the classroom. So it's nice that they're seeing the value in the work they did on those professional learning days, and also in their department meetings, and how they want to use this tool to help better their instruction in their classroom. But I was going to say, Dr. Patel, I know this is one of your passions.
This is it.
So I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to add to.
So this
portrait.
just clearly articulates, and in working in education, we always point down, right? Well, they were supposed to teach that. They didn't teach that. My kids don't know this. And then as an elementary teacher, there were oftentimes like, well, they were supposed to learn that. And it was like, really? That's not in my standards. And no one knew what was expected below or be above, because you were so focused on what you taught currently. These portraits really help everybody have a gauge and an understanding of what we teach. Also, these are going to make, especially at the elementary level when we build them, parent-teacher conferences are a breeze, because you have this and you say, this is where your kid is at, this is what I'm seeing, and it really helps drive really fruitful conversations that are about the actual content, not just making the standards something that's on PDE SAS and we can't really identify them. This just connects exactly what they're supposed to learn and makes it readable and accessible for our teachers, because the reality is nobody's reading PDE SAS. It's a great website. It's a great resource. I geek out on it. I can spend a whole day just spending time reading it.
Well, you're strange.
We know that so many different ways. Yes, yes,
I
yes.
hated that.
I know Shanika is rolling her eyes at me right now. I respect that, but this just, it puts it in their hands and it makes it accessible and readable. These are the standards and this is what you're going to learn while you were in this course. So yes, this is something I am very passionate.
And this is step one to all of our curricular writing processes
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Social studies has been doing this, and when we start having those conversations and bringing those to you, you'll see them. We have it on chart paper right now, and everything's been handwritten, but both intermediate and secondary social studies did these exercises earlier this year as well.
Excellent.
I did learn one thing. I don't speak math. I'm reading it, I'm going, yeah, I mean, it's amazing. And like
Yes.
having, like you're saying, having this and to be able to ask your kids, hey, did you learn about? And the kid, and surprisingly,
That's what I said, yeah.
they're so excited.
Yeah.
"Oh, how did you know?
Mhm.
"Yeah, I did." You might not know what they're talking about, but
Right.
they'll be excited to
Yeah.
tell you, which is the
That's true.
greatest part. These are awesome.
All right, we're on to the last thing before public participation. Curricular resources. Motion to approve, oh, are we doing that one separate?
No,
We're not
motion.
motioning yet. We're gonna motion
Number
at
5.
5.
I
We have to
think
do
so.
public participation. So those are the curricular resources.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say
We're
that.
just gonna review it.
Okay,
Yeah.
Any questions? I don't have access to it.
I didn't have access to it either, that's
Me
why I
neither.
didn't,
It's all good.
when I looked at it ahead of time.
I know it does. It shouldn't.
I'm pulling it up, sorry.
We don't need it. Is this what we got presented last month, right? These were the same ELA resources? Am I correct?
This is
From
the,
last month?
all of the EL resources, how many we're purchasing and the amount that we are purchasing.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, I don't need, I mean,
Mm-mm.
we talked about it last time, but we just didn't have it on the thing to move forward, so that's fine. I'm good. I'm gonna move on. If
Okay,
Everybody's okay?
perfect. I'm
Okay.
fine.
All right, public participation limited to comments on the agenda. Barb, you want to come on up?
We're in the mic.
And I want to commend you
Thank
for
you.
waiting
You're waiting.
for 2.5 hours.
Welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Barbara Miller. I have 2 grandchildren that are in the East Stroudsburg system. I'm a taxpayer, and I also taught in the district for 33 years. So I came here tonight very angry. I feel much better now. My first suggestion is that what you presented tonight with the plan is not what's out there being circulated, okay? So people would be more understanding if that was transparent. I know it's in its early stages. I never liked block scheduling, so hip hip hooray if it goes. I felt not too bad for the secondary teachers if they lose planning time, because elementary teachers have been on the short end of that for many, many years, because I was an elementary teacher. I do have concerns about, I want to thank you also for all the curriculum work. And I'm glad to see that secondary is on that, because elementary's been doing that for a long, long time. We've had course plans and all those things. I am concerned about the arts. I don't want anything to happen to those. I know it wasn't highlighted, but my granddaughter was in the play, the SpongeBob play at JTL, and those kids did a fantastic job. And those 2 teachers, I know I'm going to say one is Mrs. Stevens, and I know I'm going to say Justin's last name wrong.
Del Vecchio.
No, Mergolin,
Nope.
East Chorus, whatever. Did an incredible job with chorus, and those kids have sung a lot of different places, and they've brought a lot of honor to East Stroudsburg. That play was fantastic. Their enthusiasm is just unbelievable, and it has really created a love of music in my granddaughters to the point of her changing some of her goals for where she wanted to go next year because she didn't want to not be able to take course. The word out there is that if you take what, you only get one elective your whole 4 years. I'm just telling you what's being sent to me. I'm just
Yep.
stating the facts. And that's not what you presented tonight. So I would say that that's a big problem, is that communication and that transparency with, with parents. And also, I know we talked a lot about, I heard a lot about testing tonight. I was never a fan of testing, and I never will be. And I know that we have to do it. But I just want to make sure that we don't lose sight of the fact that these are children. They are not products. If you get a bad one along the way, you don't get to throw it off the line like you're in manufacturing. And I know we have to be, economically responsible and worry about that, but they are children, and they need to be, that needs to be the most important thing, is that they are getting what's best for them, and that all of their IEPs and all those things are being followed. That is the most important thing, that we can't, that we can't lose sight of, because what they do on one day in a test does not reflect what they've learned all year, nor does it reflect on the fact of that teacher being a good or a bad teacher, because
Amen.
they are children.
Thank
So
Yeah, we're all
thank
on
you
it.
for your time.
Everybody on here is on a.
I would like, but if you would make that known out there, because that is not what's circulating. I was wound tonight before I asked. You can see I've been here for almost 3 hours, and my husband just had surgery yesterday, and I want to get home to him. But I really was concerned about what I was hearing, and I wanted to come and find out what was really going on. So I appreciate the transparency.
And I appreciate you staying and sitting through all of this and listening to it to get the facts. And I would like to say to anyone who is listening to tell other people to watch this, because it's on, tape, obviously, video, whatever. It's on tape.
And,
Listen to me.
and this is basically the slide deck that was shared.
It was a prettied up version that I made for students and teachers. I tried to No,
Yeah,
and
And
I appreciate,
that.
I appreciate that. No.
That's it.
That's it.
No,
Absolutely.
my daughter
100%.
was that, you
Completely
know that, so.
Agree. I
mhm,
I
yeah.
agree 100%.
But I
and-
just want you to know that this slide deck is basically the same information that Mr. Snyder presented to the students as well as the faculty.
Mhm. And which is why I
The
asked.
Information has not changed.
Right.
Not yet.
So, and
That was where we're going to start tonight, and then we're going to do a roadshow starting next year with the two different models and what the pros and cons are.
and I will sit down and speak to anyone that has concerns, and that may book up my calendar through the remainder of the year, but if that's what it takes, it's what it takes. I want to hear from people. I want to talk to people about their concerns and about what this schedule means. I've met a few times with a number of people who were some of my biggest critics, both in the building and amongst the students. Those are the groups that I want to meet with. And I'm not trying to convince them, I'm just trying to show them what I'm proposing.
Yep, for sure. Okay, thank you.
We
Thank
hope that he has a speedy recovery.
Yes,
It was good to see you.
good to see you, Barb. Any other public participation online? No? Okay, then in which case I'll ask for a motion to adjourn.
No.
Oh, no, not yet?
Whoa.
Oh.
We have things to approve
Gotta
this
approve
month.
things.
Right, I just.
We have
I
things
didn't
to
know.
approve.
I said maybe. They're not- I said maybe. It's too late. All right. We have the recommendations for consideration by the Board of Education. Approval of the English 9 curriculum framework. So moved. Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the general science curriculum framework.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Approval of the personal finance curriculum framework.
So moved.
So moved. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Curricular resources for ELA, coming from the 25-26 budget, $42,749.30.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, then our next meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 11th. Remember,
Sorry.
that's the second one, just so we remember.
Because
Because-
graduation.
No, I know, I'm just like, it just.
Yes,
It's
already
June.
June.
yes, it is June. And so I'll make a motion to
Now can
adjourn.
we-
Motion to
Second.
Adjourn, please. I'm making a motion to adjourn, please, yes.
So moved.
Shanika, say yes.
So moved. So moved. Second.
Thank you, Shanika, for joining us tonight.
Thank
I
you.
truly appreciate it.
Safe
Glad I
travels.
could be on. Thank you, guys.
All right,
Bye.
see you
You're
soon. All
welcome.
right,
Bye-bye.
bye. That was funny. No. Oh, gosh.
Thank you,
Okay.
everybody.